Join us on another episode of In Chambers with MM. My name is Nimo Adan. I am an associate within the Dispute Resolution Department at the firm. Joining us on today's episode is Georgadis Khaseke. He is the deputy head of the Dispute Resolution Practice Group. He is also a lecturer at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. I had the highest honor of having him as my lecturer at Jomo Kenyatta University and having him as my people master at the firm. All right, Mwalimu, karibu sana. We're happy to have you here today.
Yes.
Can we start with a few questions about yourself? Where were you born and where did you grow up?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Nimo, for hosting me on the In Chambers podcast. I'm elated to be here, and it is very special coming from you who is hosting me. In terms of where I was born, I actually come from a county called Busia, a place called Matayos, although I was born in Kakamega, the time when my dad was working at the provincial hospital.
Tell us a little about your childhood. What was it like?
It was quite interesting. As any other child, I think I did enjoy it quite a lot. But I was in the hands of very strict parents. My dad was strict and a disciplinarian. My mom was equally very strict, disciplinarian, but I enjoyed my childhood.
And as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
That is an interesting question. Actually was struggling. When I was very young, I was struggling with the two careers. One, I wanted to be a policeman. Another one, I wanted to be a teacher for a very interesting reason. At that particular time when we were going to school, I think the issue of corporal punishment had not been considered or done away with. So I really used to envy, especially the teachers when they were caning us. And I said one time, when I grow up, I want to be a teacher so that I can equally revenge that, have that opportunity. And then for the policeman, of course, the fact that they were carrying guns. And during my formative years, the first school, we literally were sharing the fence with a police station. And we could see those people who had breached the law being brought to the police station. And those days, the policemen used to whip those people. So I used to say, when I grow up, I want to be a policeman so that I can be carrying a gun and I can also have an opportunity. It's quite interesting.
That's quite some very devious reasons for wanting to be a policeman.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any specific experience that you had as a child or you had growing up that has shaped who you are today as a person?
I think it's just the family setup. I, to a large extent, grew with my parents. So because of that, and the fact that I have also alluded to the strictness of the parents, then I operated in the straight and narrow. So perhaps I would say that, that has to a large extent influenced who I am, what I do, and how I do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Picking up on the strict parents, what would you say are some of the values that they instilled in you as a child that you hold dear today and that you would want to transmit to your own children?
The fundamental one is hard work, both from my dad and from my mom. So my dad is a medic, or is a retired medic, and I could see those days when we lived with him, especially the doctor's quarters in the hospitals. You'll find that he really used to work very long hours, and sometimes we could not see him for days. And I remember during one of these days when there was an accident, I think, which had occurred, and it was almost 1 a.m. We were sleeping, and somebody came to call him, and he had to, go to hospital. So, I was a bit inspired with that. My mom equally, she's a retired businesswoman, so to speak. I don't know whether businessmen or women retire, but yeah, she's no longer doing it. I think she has left to that to some family members. Yeah, but I saw when I was young the lengths to which she went to ensure that her business was successful. Even the hours that she used to wake up and the hours that she used to spend at her business. And of course, because it was family business, we are also incorporated in that. When we are not going to school, then would be in the business. So basically, they taught me that for you to attain or get whatever you're looking for in life, you have to work for it. There's nothing that came free, including even our Christmas clothes those days, especially for my mom. You had to work for you to be. Yeah.
Well, I can attest to that hard work. I have seen it. Okay. So you've mentioned that your parents were strict and they taught you, they inculcated in you the hard work spirit. Did that influence your choice of career? I mean, we're in a very
I think my choice of career somehow came unexpected. If I told you what I had in mind, of course, now, not the initial one, but when I was in high school, I thought I'll follow my dad's career path, be in the medical field. Actually, I was a science-based student when I was in high school. But however, when I was making those applications, when we are doing our final year, I just said, just in case I don't, get the first career choice, then I can equally do the second one. But even this second one, the reason why I decided to take it, I think at that particular time when I was in high school, my dad would come with newspapers at home and I would, go through them. There's this column. I think over time it has disappeared. I don't know exactly when it disappeared, but we used to have a column. I can't remember exactly which day of the week, but it used to be The Nation, and they used to do a judicial officer would write something relating to the civil procedure. I didn't know by then it was civil procedure. That time the civil procedure was in Roman numbers and whatever. So I still remember quite clearly. I would read something written by somebody called Jean Gasheshe, a commission of assize. And I tried reading and I couldn't understand. So through that, I developed some interest and I said, this looks like something that if opportunity presented, I could consider. So, you remember those days we used to have the joint admissions board. So when the results came up, I was assigned to do law and I attended the law school and I never looked back.
And you went to Moi, is it?
Yes, I went to Moi University. So when I went to Moi University with the colleagues that I was there and what we were learning, we could do those interfaculty transfers and whatever. And there was a lot of pressure for me to, change so that I could go the other side, my first choice. But quite honestly, after attending a few lectures, I just found I was at home. Yes, and I really enjoyed it.
And at Moi, was there any specific lecturer that you looked up to, wanted to be like when you started practicing?
Yeah. Okay, not a single one, but many. Interestingly, at that time, Dr. Kindiki was, Professor Kindiki now was our lecturer. At that time, he was a doctor, and I really admired him because of the way he was doing his work, the way he was teaching, very punctual. We'd always get back if we did a cut, we'd get back our papers in time, and he was strict. And I was quite surprised later on when he joined politics because the kind of vibe that he used to give us was very detached from politics, but things change. Yeah. So he's one person I used to look up to. There was also another gentleman called Ochich. He was a member of the disciplinary tribunal, the Law Society Advocacy Disciplinary Tribunal at one time. For him, I think what really, and until today, I have never understood, he seemed to be very good at whatever, whatever he was teaching us, he would come to class without even notes and just teach and remember those cases. So we sometimes used to look at him, and especially me, I felt very challenged because I was wondering, where has this guy stored the information that he's downloading and giving to us? Yeah, but there were many. And then I think there is also another gentleman. He was not very known, but he is behind the some concept in the law of the sea. He was called Professor Njenga. He took us in international law, and I really used to enjoy his classes. They were very participatory, very engaging, and he used to teach us in as much as he had written a book, and it was academic and from a practical perspective. So if you used to listen to BBC those days in the morning, you'd enjoy his classes. Yeah.
Okay. So part of what you do is that you lecture at the law school at Jomo Kenyatta University. What informed your choice? What inspired you to want to lecture at the university?
Again, even let me not sound very. It was an accidental of sorts, but there was background to it. Actually, deciding to or starting to teach was something that I was again introduced by a colleague who said, you have these qualifications, why don't you consider? But because I was full-time engaged in dispute resolution, and I think from what you have seen, they can be quite involving in terms of the time. So, but in terms of the background is because I really liked research through my scholastic period. So because of that, it was very easy for me to, engage in academic work, because up to today, I really liked research. And of course, with the qualifications, I took up teaching. My first teaching actually was at Technical University of Kenya. A friend of mine told me, there's an opportunity to teach students who are undertaking, it was a surveying course, but there was an element on property law. So I took that one starting. Then I've had other opportunities at Riara in the business school, and then I joined JQuad.
Okay. I didn't know about the Riara. So how many years in total have you been teaching?
So let's say from 2015 on off, but from 2016 it has been consistent. Yes.
Okay. What would you say are some of the memorable moments you've had in a classroom?
There are very many. I mean, especially now students, they're freer than perhaps the time that we went to campus. So I remember this time, and in fact it is recent, when I like making my classes engaging. And to do that, I ask questions. So there's this time I asked a student asked me a question. Then I put the same question back to him, and he quickly shot up and said, I'm the one asking the question, not I didn't know. So why are you again asking me the same question? So I think the whole class burst in laughter. First of all, I think they did not expect that to come from their colleague. And I think they were also amused by my response, because I think I'm easy. They thought that perhaps I will reprimand him. But it's something that I normally do whenever a student poses a question. I would throw back the same and just try to get their idea, because I have this thing that by the time you're asking that question, there's something that has provoked you to ask it. So you might not give me the answer that I'm looking for, but I will ultimately answer that question. But having given you the opportunity to think through, perhaps sometimes you find that student even knew the answer, but he wasn't sure about it. Yeah. So yeah, that moment I quite remember it very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you were teaching before COVID and you were teaching post-COVID. There have been classes that have taken place online. What would you say, or was your preference, teaching in person or the virtual classes?
I always, any given day, like the physical classes. One is that they are engaging. You will see who is following, and you can even see from the body language that certain students, or maybe sometimes even the entire class, is not understanding a particular concept, and you can repeat, or perhaps you can emphasize certain things. But online, they are very convenient. What I noted with online is that you are able to cover your coursework quite fast. But now there's a problem of concentration and engagement, because some students, even if you are to call their names, they'll say their mic is muted. Some of them perhaps are not there. Some of them will not respond. So you find the engagement is not quite good. So I try, even though we have that platform, I try to mix the classes, and whenever I can, I appear.
Interesting. And if you're to have some advice for your students who are starting out in this profession, what would it be?
My advice is be innovative, believe in your abilities, and you'll be able to achieve. Unlike perhaps the time when we were getting from law school, or when we were undertaking our studies, there are very few advocates. You have to accept that fact. And right now, although I am not one of those who are pessimists in terms of the numbers that we now have of advocates, but for you to stand out and be able to create a niche, then you need to be innovative. So I am happy to note that some of even my own students have taken that particular route. They are innovative. They are engaging in areas that initially were not highly regarded or not thought about. So nowadays, people are in sports law, people are in entertainment law, people are in technology law, and they are moving away from the traditional legal dispute resolution areas.
Okay. And how many years have you had in practice so far?
Oh, okay. 2008 until today. That is how many? 16 years. So this is my 16th year. Yeah.
In these 16 years, who would you say has been the most influential in your career, and what would you say you have learned from them?
That is a difficult question. I think very many people have been influential in my career. Even where we are here today at Mohammed Muigai, I must say that I admit quite the two senior partners, Professor for his abilities in delivery in court, and Mohammed as well. Those ones have been, but I have to go back. Even during my pupillage, the advocates who, in a way, inculcated certain skills in me. But I remember quite well Mr. Waweru Gatonye, who I worked with very closely after my pupillage. And it was to a large extent, he impacted my life in the sense that he appreciated the work that I was doing as a trainee lawyer at that particular time, just before admission. And we worked together quite closely before I came to this place. Yeah.
And I know that you do some mentorship work.
Yes.
How has it been, as a mentor, and what have you learned from some of your mentees?
Yeah, mentoring is actually an aspect of legal training that perhaps we don't give much thought to or time. But along the way, especially at the university, I always get students coming to me requesting to be mentored, and the experience has been very good. The things that we take for granted, the things that sometimes we overlook, you find that when you have these conversations and you perhaps give some advice, you find that the mentee really appreciates, and you then realize that there is somebody who is looking up to you for direction. I remember one mentee was, and this was not my student, he's somebody who actually, a gentleman who linked up with me on LinkedIn, and he just told me, I read your profile and I felt like you should be my and he actually came to these chambers. I didn't know him, but he was very determined in terms of what he wanted to do, and he was asking me questions that sometimes I did not have. So can you tell me what I should do to be maybe where you are? Then you just realize, look, maybe it is just a matter of time or years that have gone by. Some things happen which you perhaps don't take serious in terms of what they have impacted in your life, but somebody else will consider that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you wear so many hats. You're a husband, you're a father, you're a lecturer, you're a partner at the firm. How do you balance all these roles?
So it really requires self-discipline. we only have 24 hours in a day. And if you are going to undertake all those tasks in a day, then believe you me, you really have to be disciplined. And that has then meant that sometimes on some days, I have to forgo what we can call me time or personal time to engage in what I could consider to be personal social, events or so. But so far, initially, it used to be difficult, especially when I took up also the job of teaching. But with the time, you acquire or develop skills and you know how to go about it. I remember initially it used to be nightmare, especially after the exams, because you'll find you have a class of 200 students and you need to mark those scripts. So I would even take 1 or 2 days in a hotel and disappear from home to mark. But nowadays I have known how to go about that, and I easily do it without even impacting on personal time. So yeah, that is quite engaging. But I always find time. As you have said, I'm a husband and I'm a father. I'm a father of 2 daughters. And you can imagine daughters and their fathers. So we always have dates, especially during their school days. They know how to twist and blackmail. So I will always get these requests. Can you drop us to school on this day? Can you come and pick us from school? And yeah, because they are family, they're dear, they are close to me, I have to make that time. So we normally have those dates either in the morning, but I really like the evening ones. So from school, they always know that we are not going home. We will pass through some cafe somewhere where they will have their whatever they want, and we'll share a very good time, perhaps 2 hours, 3 hours. Yeah. But one of the things I have also tried to do is to be available to them. However busy I am in the office, unless I am out of town, I have to go home before they have slept, so that we can have 1 or 2 ones. Yeah.
Just picking up on that, is there any favorite activity you have that you like to do with them?
What I've come to realize is we have so many activities, but we like. I realize when we get the photos when they were kids, they really like it, and they ask me, so at this particular time, what were you thinking of me? How would I be, and stuff like that. I would tell them at that particular time their character, their behavior, and they would really laugh and say, "Are you really describing the person that is me now?" So yeah. But we always go out together, and they really like my presence out. Yeah.
Okay, great. Outside the law firm and outside the lovely daughters, is there any hobby or any pursuit that you like to do just for yourself?
Yeah, when I am free or when I had a very difficult week, especially on Fridays or sometimes Saturdays, I like listening to Rhumba music. Yeah, so it is soothing. It makes me go into another world of my own, and sometimes I can even watch the music. I think nowadays with technology, YouTube, I can watch until even 1 or 2 a.m. Yeah. So it is like it completely removes me from the tasks that I have in the coming week, or the tasks that I had and what was pending in the previous week.
Okay. Now, what would be a surprising fact that no one can guess about you?
Is there any here?
Me, I learned today that you wanted to become a policeman.
I think this is something, I don't know whether it is surprising, but it has been surprising to me. Not maybe to people. I don't know how people, but I have been surprised that people are surprised that I can be social. So most people think I am strict, I am conserved. In fact, sometimes when people meet me in a social setup, they say, "Oh, even you." In fact, I remember this day I was going to town sometime back, and I met this gentleman who was in my high school. And when he was describing me, he said, "Oh," he remembered at least my name. Khaseke, how are you? It has been long. I remember I used to be in Christian Union, and yet I never stepped in. But I think it was that kind of perception. I don't know whether you also perceived me or now maybe you know me better, but I always get surprised when people are surprised that I can be so sure. I can.
I see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, as your student, you were very strict, back then in class. Not harsh, but strict in the sense that you would come to class on time, would listen to you, and then we were also sort of very fearful of you. Well, personally, I was.
I've had that from students. In fact, there's a time when I was at Milimani Law Courts and the previous one, I think they had been admitted, they had gone to, they were now practicing. So when we left there, and there's a coffee shop around there, and I told them, let's go for lunch. So when we went for this lunch, and after that, then they told me, you're not the same person who used to. Is it because we have completed school? I don't know. This has always been me. Yeah, I guess it is not strictness. It is an issue of time management. And that is one of the things that, unfortunately, I have felt like the students in that particular side miss out on. Because my time is really limited. So you'll see me for a very limited period of time. But I try to give them the opportunity to reach me through whichever medium that is available.
I remember I used to park, coming to class. You're in the parking lot after class and you're out.
Yeah.
Now, I know you love football. What would you say is your earliest memory about, playing football or watching football? When did it start?
Playing has been part and parcel of me. In fact, that is what made me enjoy my childhood. During those days, we didn't have these, balls that you buy from the supermarket. Nowadays, I think getting a leather ball was the normal ball was very very rare. So we would do the balls ourselves. I don't know whether we used to do the balls ourselves, the papers and whatever. And when you're young, you're very energetic. Immediately after breakfast, you're playing football, and that actually brought in serious problems between myself and my parents, because whenever I saw my dad leaving the hospital and somehow where we used to play, I could see the first sight I have to take off, because I know there is something that I have not done and I will be asked, and then there will be, but we've been playing football since morning. I used to similarly have run-ins with my mom, because she would leave certain tasks, go for her business. But believe you me, as kids, you would not do them. So it is that last minute, perhaps at around 6, you're thinking, oh, she's about to come, so you are. And somehow she would know, because either you have not done or you have done it partially. So I used to actually get caned quite a lot because of that. Yeah. But in terms of watching, the memorable one, and which I think I really attracted, that must have been around 2000, and just before I joined campus, 2002. I remember going out of my way, actually left home at night because that time, TVs were an issue. And even for the households that had TV, it was black and white. So there was this neighbor who had a colored TV at that time. And I really wanted to watch. It was the finals of Real Madrid and Bayern Leverkusen, the final. And we went there, and the neighbor said, the house is full, you have to stay outside. But I really enjoyed it. That is the time that Zinedine Zidane then scored the winning goal. So yeah, sometimes I try to pull those stunts, but of course the edges. Yeah, so I really love football. And I support the only invisible team in the world
that hasn't won a trophy in 20 plus years.
Yeah, and even until now, I do play football. I play with the office team, and whenever I get opportunity to play with others, I do, and I still have a few skills here and there. So yeah.
Okay. Now, if you had to have a dinner with one person in this world, actually just one person, whether dead or alive, who would it be?
A dinner. I think I would have loved to have dinner with my grandfather.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was named after him. And to a large extent, whenever I used to meet him, I met him, or I socialized with him for a very short period of time. Because largely, as I've told you, we used to be out of the ancestral home. My dad was a civil servant, so he was all over the country. So the short period of time that I interacted with him, he always used to ask me about school and my affairs. And he was equally, from what I'm told, a very strict person. So I don't know whether... So I would have wanted to have dinner with him and celebrate him.
What would you say has been the highlight of your career so far?
I have a few highlights. Maybe I've not attained what my ambition or goal is. Yeah, but the highlight, especially for a practicing advocate, every other time that you are able to successfully prosecute a matter that you otherwise thought you would not, that is something that you appreciate. So I have some matters which I can say those ones to some extent made me happy are memorable to me. Yeah.
Any particular one that you'd like to mention? Just one.
Actually, the one that I remember most, but it is perhaps the least that is known in this firm. There's a time I was doing an election petition in Malindi, and that election petition went all the way to the Supreme Court. And that particular time, there was a requirement that you must have practiced, I think, for, was it 15 years for you to appear there? And was it 15 or 10? And I hadn't attained it, but nevertheless, I was able to submit before the Supreme Court, and we were successful. I think it must have been one of the few very first matters in the Supreme Court in 2013. Yeah. So I always remember that one. It was on women representative for Lamu. It is a reported matter, actually. We were able to deal with it on a technicality.
Nonetheless, a successful one.
Successful one, yeah.
Tell me about your journey. How did you find yourself at Mohammed Muigai?
Oh, that is an interesting question. My relationship with Mohammed Muigai goes back to actually when I completed my undergrad studies, when I was looking for pupillage. Although, interestingly, I did not come here. But upon doing the interview, I was invited to join Mohammed Muigai as a pupil. However, at the time when I received the call or the invitation, I had taken up another offer at K Advocacy at that particular time. When I completed my pupillage, of course, it was now holding over. And again, I made the application around. I was again invited to do the interview, and I was offered an opportunity to come as a legal assistant. However, by the time the invitation came, I had taken up another offer at the farm of Georgadis. So there's a day when we were at it must have been the Anglo-Leasing tribunal. Was it Anglo-Leasing, or there was a tribunal that was conducting proceedings at Anniversary Towers, and Georgadis then was an assisting counsel, and Prof was also involved in that tribunal. So as we were going down the lifts at Anniversary Towers, I remember entering together with the Prof, and he remarked, "Yeah, the gentleman who we keep offering it to join our farm and try, you decline." So then he told me, "Come and see me." So I said, "Surely I'm holding over. I'm not looking for an opportunity." Actually did not come to see him. So I did my holding over almost towards the completion, just before I received communication. But this time round, it was somebody sent, who interestingly was my former classmate at the university, but who was working in the farm. And he told me, "Oh, I have been sent. There's a letter here." And he tried to sweet talk me to say, "I know the contents of the letter. I may not know all the contents, but you are being offered an opportunity to join the firm as an associate." I opened the letter. Of course, the gentleman had already left. I read it, and it was one of the most difficult period, I think, in my career because, as I told you initially, I had this very good relationship or rapport with Mr. Oweru Gatonye then, and we had worked very closely. And here there was an opportunity to join this firm. So it was not an easy period. I think that 1 or 2 weeks was one of the most nightmarish period I've ever had, because I was thinking, if I take up this offer, my relationship with the Oweru Gatonye would somehow be soiled. But I was also again wondering, if I didn't take up the offer, maybe that would be an opportunity that I am missing. So I somehow managed to go through that, but it was not after almost 3 attempts. So the first offer I declined, and I told them I can only leave this place if I got something different than when I proposed. And even when they proposed that, I shifted the goalpost again. So finally, I was told, come now, we are not even writing, just come. And at that time, I had consulted some of my colleagues then in that firm. And there was some encouragement from some of them. And quite interestingly, by that time, I had not known Mr. Imende. So unknown to me, I think there was somebody in that firm who, actually the wife, who was also a colleague. So when I was even consulting her, saying, I'm proceeding this, and it is quite confusing. I'm young. Maybe you have been in this profession. Is it something I can consider? I didn't know the conflict of interest at a particular time, and she didn't disclose that. I just said, yeah, you make up your mind. Maybe it is an opportunity. But there's another colleague of mine who was an associate then. I asked him, he gave me the pros and cons. And I remember writing that resignation letter. It was not an easy one. 1, writing it. 2, delivering it. So I had to wait one of those evenings when Gatonye was not in the office. I went and put my resignation. So it was a Friday, and said, I'm now ready for the consequences, what will happen. And I think as soon as, I didn't expect him to come that evening. He came to the office, and I used to work a little bit late. So he just called. I think when he saw it, he opened, he read, he just called me and said, George, what is this? I told him, I've agonized over this. I thought about it, and I've made a decision to take up this opportunity. So, of course, as expected, because of the relationship, we had a conversation with a view to me remaining. I said I will consider it. But ultimately, despite that, and I have great respect for him, he really assisted me. I decided to take the opportunity. It was not easy. Even when I came here, I would still feel like I should go back and even say hi to people. So that is how I ended up here as an associate. But I came specifically as a research associate at that particular time. So I was working closely with the Prof and Mohammed on appellate matters and procurement matters. But I also wanted to go to court so that whatever I have drafted or prepared, I can present it in the way that I thought would be presented by myself. So increasingly, and much to their annoyance, I started going to court, and they really wanted me to be doing the research work. Yeah. That is how I ended up at Mohammed Mugi. And of course, from an associate, I became a principal associate, senior associate, all the way to being a partner.
That is quite an interesting journey. And how far back was this?
That was 2008.
You joined Mohammed Mugi 2008. Yeah. So 16 years.
16 years as well. So all my practicing years as an advocate have been here. And it was just on the verge of admission when all this was happening. So it was like, I think 1 week after. It started, the conversation started before, but just 1 week after admission, these gentlemen were on my case.
No, I know you largely do litigation matters. And so what does it look like when you're preparing for a case? What are some of the things that you have to do as you prepare for
That
hearing?
is a good question. I think people have different ways of doing, but for me, the preparation actually starts from the instructions. How you are able to comprehend these instructions. If you don't understand, you need clarification, because if you don't get the instructions correctly, then you are likely to not to present the case well. So from the instructions, and then of course the drafting, most people, and especially nowadays, I think there's a problem around drafting. I don't think we pay a lot of attention to drafting, but how you present your case is quite important, because it is now the position that in some instances you cannot, or the court will not give you a remedy which you have not pleaded for, or it will not rely on certain matters if you have not pleaded the same. So, of course, once the case has been presented, most people then talk about preparation in terms of how do you prepare to go to court. For me, notwithstanding how voluminous the documents are, I always have to read them at least a day or two before. And if it is a trial, I have to engage with my witnesses before that. I always sometimes have this problem of knowing the case, sometimes over preparing, such that when the witness is taken to the witness stand, when they ask the question, is as if I want to, I know the answer, I want to answer. And therefore, if the witness is not answering properly, so sometimes either because of memory failure or because of large documents, so you'd have read these documents and the witness perhaps read those documents a long time ago. Maybe you had given them the documents, you thought they had read all the documents, but because sometimes they perceive that they know their case better, then they allude. So you might find that a witness is even being asked about a certain document which you know is there, and they cannot remember that it's there. So of course you come in late in the re-examination when the damage has already been been done, and you leave the court feeling more aggrieved than even the client, himself or herself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think you started practicing when oral advocacy was at its peak.
Yes.
Now we're moving towards a more written advocacy.
Yes.
What would you say has been your preference? Do you prefer the written or do you prefer the oral when you would go to court, argue your case?
I still prefer the oral argumentation, for the simple reason that it develops your confidence. Your points or your viewpoints are able to be challenged both by the court and by your counterpart. Sometimes you might have this grandiose idea or point that you want to persuade, and from the questions you can quickly realize that it is flimsy. It is not as serious as you thought. But you see, when it comes to oral, if you make such an argument, and sometimes the other side does not pick up, the court might not even pick up that argument as well. We have had situations where sometimes we wonder whether either the other side or the courts read submissions. But when you are making it, you'll find that it is easier for somebody to pick up. Sometimes the courts would, or the presiding judicial officer will ask questions regarding the particular argument. And that is why you even see sometimes advocates saying we are well guided. You wonder, okay, what are they well guided on? Because they have just realized the fallacy in the argument there. So you can easily retreat and realize there is an aspect of that argument that perhaps you had not considered. And if it is oral, that can come out easily. And also just the fact that sometimes when you're doing oral arguments, you can actually know from the responses from the judge and even the submissions by your counterpart, how the case is likely to go, which is difficult nowadays with the written submissions. And I think increasingly I'm even finding it difficult to advise clients, giving them legal opinions, because sometimes you do submissions very well, so you think, and then when the decision comes out, you find that none of your submission neither have been alluded. But anyway, it is a decision you have to live with it.
Yeah, okay. Some of us who admitted during the COVID period, and our practice has largely been virtual courts. We haven't had the privilege of appearing before some of these courts physically. What would your advice be to my lot?
I think your lot is underprivileged, if I might be allowed to say so. When we were starting off way back, even as peoples, because of the physical sessions, we used to interact a lot with our seniors. Sometimes when you are in Milimani or in town, and perhaps your matter has not been called out, or you are with your people master, and you know the matter that you're appearing in has not, you can always go to the next court and perhaps find a trial going on, or some submissions, and you can easily and quickly follow. Of course, that does not mean that you cannot do that. But in terms of interactions that I was talking about is when you go to court, before the matters are called out, you will always have these interactions with the seniors, with even your peers. And through that, we actually knew each other very well, because there was this practice of holding brief. You can imagine now, if you have 5 matters or 3 matters or whatever there, you'll put your gadgets here, around here. And even the people who will hold your brief, if you're asking, will be more or less your colleagues in the office. But during those days, you find that they are colleagues from other firms. So we used to know who is at HHM, who is at Anjawala, who is at Ahmed Nasir or whatever. We used to know each other. Nowadays, it is difficult. I mean, sometimes I meet with the people, they say, oh, we know you, but I don't know them. Yeah, so that interaction... and even then, to some extent, just the confidence and the trust, because sometimes, the trust and confidence in your colleagues would, to a large extent, arise from the interactions that you have. That is when you can say, if Nimo issued me with a professional undertaking, then this is as good as a banker's check. Nowadays, I don't even know how, especially for our conveyancing colleagues. Of course, I know what the law provides, but you will find the kind of challenges, and to some extent, it has even affected the professional relation, the cuts that we used to have, and I think you can see it playing in court even with the senior lawyers nowadays, because of that lack of social, personal touch, interaction that used to be there. So you go to court as proper adversaries.
Hopefully we'll get back to where we were pre-COVID.
Yeah, I think we need a mixture of both. Of course, I know some courts are doing it, but even where you're having physical court, then it is a specific matter. Perhaps if it is a hearing, especially in the ELC courts, which are physical, then it's only that matter or maybe 2 matters. So again, the interaction is limited. And for your case, you missed out on the seniors' tea and coffee goodies, because we used to go for that, and through that we'd interact, we'd learn quite a lot. Yeah, which I think for you, if you have to go out for coffee with the senior, unless you have gone for
physical
a matter,
and
you're finished, and most likely it will be with somebody from the office.
16 years in practice, I believe you have interacted with a wide range of areas in law. Is there anything specific? Is there any area in specific that that has captured your attention, or that you would like to?
Yes. Increasingly, I'm gravitated. My area has always been in civil commercial litigation, and of course dispute resolution in terms of arbitration. But increasingly, especially from last year, I've taken seriously tax matters, and I am starting to do a lot of them. And as I told you, initially I'm a student, so I'm doing international tax. So very soon, perhaps I will start choosing and picking what I'll do. Yeah.
Joining us also is Mary Washuka, also known as Washu. She is our executive admin assistant at the firm. Karibu sana Washu. Thank you. All right. Now tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. Miss Washuka or Miss Washu, she's a mother of one. Yes. I grew up in a town called Dumboine, that is in Lower Kabete, near Kabete campus. I'm one of the millennials. Nowadays, we have Gen Zs. So I'm one of the millennials, and I'd say I think during our time, it's not like the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, they're ever on tabs, on phones. Us used to go to see those streams in our shags. But I mean, it was quite an experience, and let me say, also went to Kanyabiri High School.
All right. Now, Washu, as the executive admin, you're also the front office. You're the face of the farm. What does your typical day look like when you walk in the morning?
Wow. My typical day actually starts from the house. All right. So before I even leave the house, I received calls, SMSs. People would call me. Maybe they want to book an appointment, or maybe they want a meeting room booked for them. There are advocates who are calling. Maybe they have a pre-trial with a client, or they call you and tell you maybe there's a client who's coming for hearing. All right. And maybe someone will also call you and tell you maybe they're not going to be able to report to the office on that day, or there's an emergency or something. And so when I reach the office, I usually make sure that I have a to-do list and a diary. All right. So what I do, I usually try to slot my work from the most urgent to the least. Right. So of course, when I come, I'll just start with maybe the calls I had received and the emails that I had received before I reach the office. And then so after that, I just go through the emails, forward them to the relevant parties or departments. From there, I just now go through my to-do list. And don't forget, from 8 to 5, in between, as I'm also working on my to-do list, there are also calls coming in, the clients coming in, all right, walk-ins, with and without appointments, all right. There are also instructions coming from the partners, the people who I work for. Yeah, so it's always a busy day, but I'm thankful for that.
All right, good. You're also part of the debt collection team. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do in the debt collection team?
Okay. So initially, debt collection, let me put it this way. Initially, debt collection was in accounts. But of course, this is a fast-paced growing company, and at times it seemed to be overwhelmed. So let me say the firm or the management saw it and deemed it fit to have a debt collection department, which I'm glad to be part of. What I can say, debt collection, it's not easy. It's not a walk in the park. Because, making a client understand why they have to make that payment, all right, and also get to know why they're not making those payments, and maybe coming up with strategies on how you can help them or assist them in paying, all right, and also maintaining the rapport that you had, because when it comes to payment, no one wants to make the payments, all right, so you also want to retain that relationship with them, all right. So, and at the end of the day, you're like, I still want to maintain this client. And if they are given a good client support, let me say that, the client experience, all right, make them understand you and you understand each other, all right, building a rapport with them. Believe you me, they'll actually pay that fee they're supposed to pay. They'll bring more work and even give you referrals, Yeah.
Okay, so moving the business forward is what you do. Okay, you have worked at the farm for how long now?
No, it's actually 3 years now. Yeah, I think I joined the farm 2021 October 2021. Yeah.
And what has your experience been like at the farm?
Wow, let me say it's amazing working with the senior partners in the farm. Let me say, for example, senior counsels like Professor Kindiki, senior counsel Mohammed Nyaoga, our managing partner, Mr. Imende, deputy managing partner, Mr. Wetangula, and the head of the head partner on third floor, Mr. Khaseke over here, and all the other partners. It was a little bit tough because you wouldn't know what to present to who or what time, how you present this work to who, how, all right? But I can say it has been an amazing experience, and I've actually managed to build a camaraderie between ourselves. And let me say, it's been an experience, a learning experience, and I don't take it for granted.
All right. And have we inspired you to go to law school yet?
Of course. In fact, this is what I had planned. I had said, I had planned like this year, because let me say it's over now 7 years in legal fraternity. Yeah, so I had decided like I'm going to go the paralegal way. So I decided this year I may apply, but of course things came up here and there. But I know, and I'm promising myself next year I'll go that route. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Khaseke and I will hold you accountable to that.
Oh, of course.
All right. As we wind up, Washu, tell us about the client experience at the farm.
Ooh. Let me say, dealing with different people from different walks of life, all right? From different backgrounds, races, cultures, all right? It has never been easy for anyone, but I think that is the part that your art of mastery in your work comes in handy, all right? Can you imagine working in an office? Actually, if you'd work in an office, just at the door, you know what kind of office or a firm it is, all right? Just from the door, all right? When you come in, even the cleanliness in that office, the people who you meet there, all right? You come and meet Miss Washu there. The way she treats you, the way she talks to you, all right? The way she attends to you, the way she's dressed, all right? If she's professional, you'll always be able to tell. You can see like, her looks, her talks, she's composed, cutesy, demure, right? And I mean, tell me if you not hear that word outside there, that if you go to Mohammed Guy, I'm telling you, the client experience is top notch. I mean, is Miss Washu not marketing the company?
Most definitely.
Yes, because that client will come back again, and also maybe bring more work. Yeah. So it's an experience, and I think, and also having passion in what you do. All right. I think that is what also drives me, when it comes to client experience, loving and having passion for what you do. Yes.
Thank you so much to my guests for the day. That is all for today's episode. Thank you all for listening in. The episode is now out on all streaming platforms. We look forward to receiving your feedback on the episodes that are up so far.